Why is Paris consumed with envy as a 35-year-old African leader captures the world's attention? This is what unfolds when a fearless leader challenges a former colonial empire. It might sound unbelievable, but France reportedly attempted 18 times, unsuccessfully, to oust President Ibrahim Traoré. The world is watching in awe as Burkina Faso, under his courageous leadership, dares to push back against centuries of French influence. But how did Traoré manage to hold on to both his power and his life in the face of such pressure? Let's dive in. In October 2022, Ibrahim Traoré, then just 35 years old, became the youngest head of state in Africa. His rise wasn't fueled by wealth or political privilege. It was powered by a surge of popular support. A military captain with a modest background, Traoré deeply understood the struggles of his people because he lived them himself. He stepped up during a time of national crisis. Poverty was rampant, terrorism plagued the nation, and the people had lost faith in their leaders. What made Traoré's leadership remarkable wasn't just his youth, but his firm resolve to tackle these issues directly. Unlike previous leaders who offered empty promises, he presented a bold vision of a sovereign, self-reliant Burkina Faso. "There's much to be done," he once said. "Obstacles will appear. Forget your age, set high goals, even if they feel out of reach." And he followed through. As soon as he assumed office, Traoré began dismantling the systems of exploitation that had kept his country tied to France. His blunt, passionate speeches resonated deeply. They weren't rehearsed talking points. They came from a place of lived experience. He wasn't just seen as a president. He was one of the people. A man who had witnessed his nation's resources being drained while its citizens suffered. The world began to understand the message once the last French troops left Burkina Faso. The effects were immediate. Hidden terrorist networks re-emerged, but Burkina Faso was ready. The country quickly restructured its military, forming new units and equipping them with urgency. Traoré made it clear: Burkina Faso would stand strong and defend itself in the face of new challenges. But not everyone welcomed his rise. France, which had long benefited from Burkina Faso's natural wealth, especially its gold, was quick to react. The question is, why did Traoré's actions provoke such a strong response from Paris? To understand France's anger, one has to dig deeper. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's top gold producers, yet for years, the bulk of its wealth ended up enriching France. Through biased trade deals and corporate control, French companies reaped massive profits from Burkina Faso's gold industry while giving very little back to the local economy. Shockingly, even the nation's currency is printed by France, under a system where 50% of national reserves are held in the French treasury. Traoré didn't just question this system, he shattered it. He nationalized critical sectors, prioritized Burkinabe ownership, and cut off one of France's key economic lifelines in the region. But his resistance wasn't only economic, it was symbolic. For decades, France maintained control in Africa through political interference, cultural domination, and military presence. Traoré's decisions to expel French forces and shut down French businesses directly challenged that legacy. He sent a clear message: Burkina Faso no longer needs its former colonizer. That's why France views him as such a threat. This isn't just about gold. It's about reclaiming a narrative that has kept Africa in a cycle of dependency. Yet Traoré's battle goes beyond France. He is fighting for the dignity and freedom of his people. It's a battle that demands bold, unprecedented action. Our focus shifts now to West Africa, specifically Burkina Faso, where the country's military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, has made startling accusations against France. According to Traoré, nations like Benin and Ivory Coast are aiding France in efforts to destabilize Burkina Faso. He alleges that France has established 2 secret military outposts in Benin, which are being used to launch terrorist operations against his country. Traore claims that these bases are staging grounds for the insurgents attacking Burkina Faso. France, however, has denied the existence of such bases, firmly rejecting his claims. Meanwhile, the geopolitical landscape in West Africa is undergoing a dramatic shift. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, now under military rule, are distancing themselves from their traditional Western allies and drawing closer to Russia. What's most remarkable is how a relatively poor country like Burkina Faso has managed to challenge such a powerful former colonizer. From the outset of his presidency, Traoré made his priorities unmistakably clear. One of his first actions was to demand the removal of French military bases from Burkinabe soil. This move wasn't merely symbolic, it was strategic. French forces had operated in the country for years under the pretext of combating terrorism. But many citizens believed their presence was less about protection and more about control. Traoré's decision to expel them was widely supported by the public. It wasn't just resistance, it was a reclamation of national sovereignty. But Traoré didn't stop there. His administration turned its sights on French corporations that had long operated with minimal accountability, exploiting natural resources, ignoring environmental standards, and overlooking labor rights. By driving these companies out, Traoré began the difficult task of rebuilding his country's economy for the benefit of its own people. Perhaps the most profound move, though, was cultural. Traoré announced that French would no longer be recognized as an official language in Burkina Faso. Instead, he advocated for indigenous languages, marking a bold departure from the colonial legacy that had shaped the nation's identity for decades. Unsurprisingly, these actions came with consequences. France responded with diplomatic snubs and economic pressure. But instead of backing down, Traoré's defiance galvanized his supporters and unified much of the nation behind him. This unity, however, came at a steep price. His resistance made him a target, not just politically, but physically. He has survived 18 assassination attempts. Let that number sink in. It's not just a statistic, it's a chilling reflection of the danger he faces daily and the lengths his opponents are willing to go. These attempts signal the fear he instills in those who have long exploited Burkina Faso. Not only fear of him as a person, but fear of what he represents. This isn't just one man dodging occasional threats. This is a coordinated campaign to take him out. Why? Because Traoré's defiance isn't just disruptive. It's existentially threatening to the global systems built on inequality. For those who have benefited from the status quo, Traoré is a dangerous symbol of change. Each failed attempt on his life is more than personal survival. It's a symbolic victory. Every time he emerges unscathed, the world is reminded. Burkina Faso will not be silenced. His resilience inspires his people, who see their own struggle reflected in his unwavering stance. The threats come from every angle: foreign forces trying to retain control, internal actors seeking chaos for their own gain, and local elites afraid of losing influence. Traoré once said, I can't be at the top of the state as a young guy, and I might prefer to be eating rasambala like everyone else under mangroves. In other words, to fully dedicate yourself to your country, to accept forgetting your youth, and to tolerate forgetting your life. One of the dangers is the unstable state in which we currently find ourselves. Because you have to survive in such a place if you want to get your act together. Additionally, you make enemies both inside and outside the boat by surviving to straighten it out. Therefore, we must deal with this destabilizing, murderous, and all-encompassing crisis. These assaults are not random. They are brutal in their goal, unrelenting in their frequency, and well-planned and coordinated. His words reflect a leader who has sacrificed youth and comfort to fully commit to the survival and sovereignty of his nation. Burkina Faso is navigating an incredibly volatile moment, where enemies lurk both inside and outside its borders. The attacks on Traoré are deliberate, unrelenting, and expertly planned. But despite it all, he remains resolute. He doesn't retreat in fear, he doubles down with even greater resolve. For Traoré, this isn't just a fight for today. It's a struggle to secure a future for his nation long after he's gone. Every conspiracy against him strengthens his mission. Every threat only makes his vision clearer. A Burkina Faso that stands tall, independent, and free from foreign domination. What makes Ibrahim Traoré truly exceptional is not just his survival under constant threat, but his unshakable dedication to a larger vision. While most leaders under such pressure might retreat, focusing only on personal safety, Traoré has remained focused on building a legacy defined by sovereignty, unity, and national progress. One of the clearest examples of this is the ambitious Renaissance City project. Not a distraction from the dangers he faces, but a clear demonstration of his belief that real leadership is about transformation, not just endurance. His ability to thrive amid relentless danger is what truly sets him apart. More than just inspiring, Traoré's resilience is revolutionary. It sends a powerful message to both his supporters and his critics. Burkina Faso's fight for true independence will not be derailed. Now let's talk about Renaissance City and its symbolic importance. Imagine a city, not born of foreign aid or outside influence, but built in defiance of a legacy of exploitation. That's the idea behind Renaissance City. A bold, self-funded urban center that celebrates the power and potential of Burkina Faso. With every brick laid and every road paved, Traoré is making a declaration. Burkina Faso will not be held back. Each act of sabotage, each economic threat, each assassination plot is met not with fear, but with construction, with forward motion. Renaissance City is not just urban development. It's a living, breathing act of resistance. It turns decades of imposed dependency on the head, showing that real progress does not require the shadow of Western intervention. Traoré is rewriting the story. For too long, Africa's growth was linked to foreign oversight and assistance. But Renaissance City dismantles that illusion. It proves that Africa can, and will, advance on its own terms. Every building that rises is a declaration of self-reliance. Every thriving industry within the city is a tribute to the power of local talent and homegrown innovation. To Traoré, Renaissance City is far more than a location. It's a beacon of culture, sustainability, and innovation. A symbol of what an African nation can achieve when it places its citizens, not foreign investors, at the center of its priorities. This project is powered by Burkinabe expertise and serves the people directly, stimulating local economies, supporting sustainable industries, and creating jobs. The timing could not be more meaningful. As France struggles to maintain its fading grip on Africa, Burkina Faso is rising. While one nation scrambles to reconcile with the collapse of its colonial influence, the other is laying the foundation for a brighter, more independent future. It's a powerful contrast. The old empire clinging to crumbling power, while the once colonized now lead themselves forward. Renaissance City is not just a vision, it's Traoré's counterattack. A bold answer to destabilization efforts. It affirms Burkina Faso's unshakable commitment to its own development path. It is both a challenge to the global status quo and a promise to the Burkinabe people that they will not only survive, but flourish on their own terms. And where does that leave France? The fallout has been seismic. France's colonial history wasn't just a chapter in its past. It was the foundation of its modern economy. Wealth extracted from Africa built its industries, elevated its global reputation, and helped construct the infrastructure of cities like Paris. So what's happening in Burkina Faso isn't just an isolated rebellion. It's the unraveling of an entire colonial economic system. Think of the French economy like a Jenga tower. Each African country that reclaims its wealth removes another block. When Burkina Faso refused to comply, France lost more than just a few mining contracts. It lost a strategic stronghold in West Africa. Now, French companies that once dominated African markets are struggling to adapt. Their influence is shrinking, and their economic forecasts are dimming. Meanwhile, the carefully maintained image of France as a benevolent partner to Africa is falling apart, exposing the exploitation that long simmered underneath. This isn't just an economic blow, it's a crisis of identity. France's narrative of being Africa's protector is collapsing, and Burkina Faso is leading the way toward a new model of independence and innovation. Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso is not just resisting, it's thriving. He has introduced a transformative approach to governance and development, beginning with a powerful move: the creation of a state-owned bank. This isn't just a financial institution, it's a tool of empowerment. It funds local agriculture, supports small and medium businesses, and invests in renewable energy projects tailored to the country's specific needs. Traoré has also prioritized agriculture, previously neglected in favor of raw exports, by supplying farmers with modern tools and training to boost food production and feed more people. Through these bold reforms, Traoré is redefining what African leadership can look like. He's proving that even under siege, from within and without, Burkina Faso can stand strong, chart its own future, and become an inspiration for the rest of the continent. This shift is not only stimulating Burkina Faso's local economy and creating jobs, but also reducing reliance on imports. A vital part of the country's new direction is its focus on renewable energy. Aware of the nation's vast solar potential, Traoré is investing in solar farms and smaller renewable projects to achieve energy independence, an essential step toward breaking free from foreign control. Yet, perhaps the most defining trait of Traoré's leadership is his dedication to innovation and education. He understands that a self-reliant Burkina Faso requires a new generation of thinkers, leaders, and innovators to build on the foundations he's laying. With strategic investments in technology, vocational training, and scholarships, he's planting the seeds for a more prosperous future. His approach is already prompting other African nations to reevaluate their reliance on Western powers, capturing global attention. But how far does this influence go? Traoré's defiance is not just a national phenomenon. It's triggering a broader continental awakening. Across Africa, both leaders and citizens are looking to Burkina Faso as proof of what's possible when a country puts its people before foreign interests. Mali, for example, has recently expelled French troops, following Burkina Faso's example. Guinea is reassessing its trade deals to ensure fairer resource distribution. Traoré's bold steps are pushing other nations to reconsider their Western ties. This transformation is deeper than politics, it's cultural. African nations are increasingly shedding remnants of colonial influence and reclaiming their languages, identities, and traditions. Burkina Faso stands at the heart of a growing Pan-African movement that champions unity and independence. The journey is challenging. Powerful interests opposed to Burkina Faso's path are using media propaganda, sanctions, and covert operations to maintain control. Yet, the growing solidarity among African nations suggests a significant shift may be underway. As more countries rally behind the vision of a self-determined Africa, the conversation turns to how this momentum can be sustained. And how can figures like Traoré remain safe amidst it all? Any revolution comes with risks, and Traoré's bold leadership has made him a target of both foreign forces and domestic opposition. His push for sovereignty has drawn global scrutiny, and with it, serious danger. While he survived numerous assassination attempts, internal betrayal may prove an even greater threat. Historically, many African leaders challenging the status quo were undone by internal divisions rather than external enemies. Traoré's connection with the people is both his greatest strength and his most fragile vulnerability. While grassroots support has shielded him, it also puts him at constant risk. He navigates this landscape by surrounding himself with a trusted inner circle and building a growing network of Pan-African allies. Still, Burkina Faso as a nation faces its own challenges: diplomatic isolation, economic retaliation, and even the threat of military action. Traoré must not only safeguard his own life, but also defend the nation from external pressures. Yet, with each new threat, his resolve grows, and so does his following. His unwavering courage is inspiring a new generation across the continent, one that envisions a future free from exploitation. While his journey is far from over, it's clear that Burkina Faso, under his leadership, is leading a much larger movement. This isn't just about one country's independence. It's about a collective reawakening. Countries across Africa are realizing the strength of unity. What's happening is more than political. It's a rewriting of history. For centuries, Africa was treated as a source of wealth for others. Today, it's rising as a continent of power, innovation, and resilience. Traoré embodies this shift. His actions prove it's possible to stand up to even the most dominant global powers. But beyond resistance, he is laying the groundwork for a bold, self-reliant, and proudly African future. As Burkina Faso builds its destiny, the rest of the continent watches with hope. The question isn't whether Africa can rise, but how far it will go. And with Traoré at the helm, one thing is certain: this is only the beginning. So, do you think assassination attempts can stop Traoré? What do you think will happen if France loses its grip? And how do you view Western involvement in Africa's affairs? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.